This is what everyone's talking about.
Everything's on the table.
This is what champions come to take. This is what everyone came to see.
And the slam!
No do-overs. No second chances. No more Mr. Nice Guy. This is winner take all. The NBA Finals continue on ABC and the ESPN app.
Welcome into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball. This is, I believe, episode 555. Is that right, Sam? Are we on triple fives today?
I think we are, which is incredible. That feels like an anniversary that doesn't normally get acknowledged.
Yeah. It's like when people celebrate, May the 4th. Or one of those things. Or like in Colorado, we celebrate like 303 Day for March 3rd because it's the area code in Denver.
Should we have made this episode? Now I'm thinking about how we should have done this. Like all third basemen, just celebrate guys who play.
Okay. I have an idea for Name That Dude. Then where we just pick the most formative third baseman of our pasts.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. I have a name immediately.
All right, good.
Going to save that for the end of the episode.
So
it is not a third baseman's specific episode this week. We do have a guest.
We do. And he's not a third baseman.
Not a third baseman. Catcher Drew Cavanaugh of the San Francisco Giants organization. Very excited to bring him on and get to talk to him. He's somebody, as we sit here now, is tied for second best among minor league full season qualifiers with a 180 WRC plus between AA Richmond and AAA Sacramento. So we're going to talk to him about his breakout 2026 season.
180 WRC plus. Pretty good. Not bad.
Pretty good. Pretty good at the top of the minors. And there's a lot to get into with him, but he is a catcher. And we will talk about that because it's a very interesting time to be a catcher in the Giants organization as it is.
Maybe we'll ask Drew Cavanaugh, who's your favorite third baseman of all time. We're just going to third baseman conversation galore on the outskirts of this podcast today. It's not going to be about third baseman necessarily, but we'll talk a little bit of third baseman on the 555 episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. Just a two-man band today, myself and Sam Dykstra. Benjamin Hill out for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. So we're going to dive right in, Sam, with already a couple of identities that you and I have discussed off the air because they are very fun. Two new alternate identities in minor league baseball. One of them will start in the St. Louis Cardinals organization, and that is the AA Springfield Cardinals, who will go on a hunt and go as the Ozarks Snipe Hunters. Now, Springfield in the Ozarks. Springfield, Arkansas, Springfield, Missouri, Springfield, wherever. Where is it?
The many Springfields
Missouri,
across
Springfield,
America.
Springfield, Springfield, Colorado, Springfield, New York. No,
Springfield,
this
Massachusetts.
Springfield, Massachusetts, which is where the Basketball Hall of Fame is, correct?
And the birthplace of one Sam Dykstra.
And the birthplace, the more important thing, obviously. Yeah. This one is Springfield, Missouri. So not to be confused with any of the other Springfields, nor the one on The Simpsons, but Springfield, Missouri in the Ozarks. They will play as the Ozarks, plural, Snipe Hunters. Sam, explain to me what a snipe hunt is. Explain to me what a snipe is or isn't, because it's not real, correct?
I honestly, this is not something I was familiar with at all. I was talking to Ben Hill about this earlier in the week, and apparently he and our friend Josh Jackson had both grown up knowing about snipe hunters. It's not something that had ever crossed my
me neither.
Crossed my screen. So I'm just going to read what Ben wrote in his newsletter this week. Ever gone on a snipe hunt? If so, you were probably the butt of a practical joke. Generations of impressionable young campers have been sent off to catch them, but one has yet to emerge. Springfield's Ozarks Snipe Hunters identity pays tribute to these mythical creatures. The logo features a man named Grandpa Clyde, who, as the story goes, caught a snipe that vanished as quickly as it appeared. So it sounds like, and I'm sure people at home are correcting us as we say this, it's a joke. Like if you're out camping,
it's like I was going to say an urban legend. It's like a rural legend. It's like a camping legend. It's like Bigfoot.
Basically. Yeah, like, oh, you're meant to go search for the thing in the woods that you're not going to find.
Which also
And
has like
then
a good baseball connotation because for, like you get like a new clubby or a rookie or whatever, and you say like, oh, you got to go get the key to the left-handed batter's box. Or can you go get the box of curveballs or whatever? Like the dumb things that baseball people do to new baseball people. So I feel like Snipe Hunters has a good connection in that way.
it does. It does. And again, these are all educational opportunities for us, alternate identities. So like, I don't know if I should take this to my nephew and just be like, hey,
Yeah,
we're going to go on a
probably.
snipe hunt.
Yeah, you probably should. Is there a description? This sort of feels a little bit to me like Lehigh Valley's alternate identity. What was that? The Snorks? What was the what was the weird Lehigh Valley thing? The name of which I already get. The Squonk. The
The
Squonk.
squonk. Yeah.
Yeah, this kind of feels a little bit Squonk-esque in that it's like like an urban myth that has grown. And, it is kind of cool because this exists culturally, not just in the United States, it's all over the world, but, like a chupacabra or like we were talking about with a Sasquatch or, a Yeti, those types of things. Snipe, although I get the impression that the snipe is a lot smaller than those, because on the logo, our friend Grandpa Clyde is like carrying a snipe in a bag. But yeah, I was unfamiliar with snipe hunting culture.
I don't know how it feels to me either or feels to you, Tyler, but Grandpa Clyde in this logo looks like a mix of the two of us.
Ooh. Oh,
He does not
interesting.
look like a grandpa to me, I gotta say.
Oh man, we're getting. Yeah, he does. I can see it with the beard. He doesn't look like a grandpa because he has more color in his beard than I do. They should have gone with like a gray and white beard to make me feel less ancient that this guy is known as Grandpa Clyde and he has better skin and hair color than me. But yeah, I could see that. I could see the two of us embodied in that generic bearded dude image. It's kind of what I look like anyway.
And you were talking about this being the catch-all of an urban legend, even though this is, like you said, more of a rural legend. But yeah, Grandpa Clyde still swears he captured the animal, if only just for a moment, but has no proof of doing the impossible, only the memory of his most legendary hunt, which that sounds like most of minor league history, does it not?
Yeah, that's true. That is very
Hey,
true.
this 600-foot homer was hit here in 1942.
Right.
Did we actually measure it? No. Did StatCast exist? Absolutely not. But we have the story, and the story is as important as the event itself.
So, according to MILB.com/Springfield, a snipe hunt, as a practical joke, dates back as far as the 1840s, which originated in summer camps among American boys in the mid 1800s. That's pretty great. This does just feel like, like the thing that your uncles tell you about. And they're like, no, maybe one day you'll catch a snipe. And you're like, I am going to catch a snipe. and, and then you realize that you're probably not going to catch a snipe.
Again, my nephew is, he's turning 9. He's
Yeah,
right age
that really,
for a
he is like
snipe
the
story.
perfect age for a snipe story. So the Ozarks snipe hunters, the best element of this uniform to me, the jerseys are great, but it's like a neon, the alternate or the accent color. There's like a forest green is kind of the main color, and then there's a lot of black and white and gray for the darkness of night. But the alternate or the accent color is like a neon green, and the socks and belts of the uniform are both neon green, and it's a good look. I'm kind of digging it.
No, they've really done a good job of this. And when I first heard the name and it was presented to me, I was thinking like hunter stuff. Like, would it be
Oh
camo
yeah, maybe
and
it's
like an
hunter
orange hat?
green instead of forest green. I guess it could be either.
Either,
You're
either
hunting
one,
in the
either one
forest.
fits. Yeah, either one fits.
Yeah.
But they've kind of gone a little bit of a different direction here. But no, it's very good. Oh, pivoting now to this second logo, though, this second alternate identity of the week, the Augusta Soul.
Oh,
If you want
it's
to talk
so
about an
good.
educational opportunity, Tyler, I feel like we both learned something about the
Yeah,
Augusta Soul.
we did. The Augusta Soul, the Augusta Green Jackets, who of course are an affiliate of the Atlanta Braves now in Single A. The Green Jackets are going to dress up as the Augusta Soul, due in part because the city is home to the godfather of soul, James Brown. Which I did not know. Didn't realize that he grew up in Augusta. But it's not just James Brown, obviously. There is a whole huge and diverse musical history in Augusta. And of course, soul is at the center of that. James Brown, who grew up in Augusta, helped define that genre, soul and funk. His impact, according to the Green Jackets, at their alternate identity release, says his impact, quote, can still be felt across R&B, hip hop, pop, dance, and live performance today. The Augusta Museum of History notes that Brown grew up in Augusta during the Great Depression and World War II before becoming an international music icon. So to have gone through all of that and, come out as one of the most renowned musicians in American history is pretty incredible. Also from the Augusta area is Sharon Jones, who obviously is known as the front person of Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. The amphitheater in North Augusta was renamed in her honor after a unanimous vote by the city council there in 2020. And that venue hosts concerts and community events along the Savannah River. So the Augusta Soul will take the field June 19th and 20th. And they've got the script is magnificent. The script feels like it would be, it would be across the jersey of like an ABA team in 1971. Like, it's so good. It's so funky.
That's such a perfect way of putting it. It is pink forward, I would say. It's got pink and like a cream color to it. It looks like the baseball is at the center of a record that is currently spinning. Because
I do love that the record is spinning. I like that.
And then soul is in big letters here, big cursive letters. And half of it is pink, half of it is that cream. Their uniforms are also just straight up gorgeous. It's got that kind of purple funkadelic feel to it with the Augusta Soul logo in the middle. The hats have a pink brim to them. When I heard about this, I'm like, well, that's just a straight up great name, the Augusta Soul. You talk about names that are singular, the Utah Jazz, the Miami Heat. The Augusta Soul has a real feeling to it that I think everybody can get around. But also, I heard the name and I'm like, that sounds really, really good. And then I saw how it looks and I'm like, man, that looks really good too. I'm not going to advocate for them to move away from the Augusta Green Jackets because that's so iconic.
It's so good too. Right. Yeah.
But this feels like 2 for 2 with 2 home runs. I mean, this is like your original name is so good and they've done a really good job of incorporating the bees. So it's not just golf, like it is its own thing, the Green Jackets. But then they got the soul. Like, I would love it if they moved to this for once a week or something.
Yeah.
I think that could be a real hit. Again, like if you have James Brown as your hometown hero, I would lean into that as much as I could. And they're starting to do this now. We'll see how it catches on the rest of the country, but I think this one they knocked out of the park completely.
They are going to work in partnership with the James Brown Academy of Music Pupils, the JAMP, which is a nonprofit, which is from the James Brown Family Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization created in accordance with the wishes of James Brown. There will be a jersey auction to benefit the Academy, but this is just really, really cool stuff. They've also got 2 really good slogans to go along with this, which is "Get On Up," of course, and also at the top of the identity release, it says "Papa's got a new identity," which is even better. So good stuff from Augusta, good stuff from Springfield, and with that, let's shift over to talk some on-field stuff, Sam, and we're going to talk first about one of the most imposing hitters in all of baseball right now, and I mean that both physically and in terms of what he's doing at the plate, and that is Alex McCoy. Tell us about Alex McCoy. You got a good story up on the site right now.
Yeah, Alex McCoy is the number 19 prospect in the Padres system right now. And for anybody who, after last year's trades and some of the things that have gone down in the San Diego system the last few years, and wondered who is still a Padres prospect outside of Ethan Salas, introduce yourself to Alex McCoy. Like, go seek him out. He's having a really strong year this year at High A Fort Wayne. This is his second full season. He was signed by the Padres as an undrafted free agent out of Hofstra. He actually spent 2 years before that at University of Maryland Eastern Shore. He's from the Baltimore area, so it made sense for him to go there. And then he goes to Hofstra, gets coached up by Frank Catalanato. Here's a future remember that dude.
Which, by the way, this is very weird how baseball sometimes does this to you. I'm working on the World Baseball Classic book and I'm writing a thing right now. And I just, like 5 minutes before I logged in for our call today, I had written about how Frank Catalanato was in the lineup for Italy during its first WBC game against Australia. That is, I haven't thought about Frank Catalanato in quite some time, and now twice in the span of the noon hour today, I've been talking Frank Catalanato.
Yeah, and Alex said, like, one of the reasons why he went to Hofstra was the coaching staff there. Obviously, getting to learn under a 14-year major leaguer is going to be huge for your career. But he said at University of Maryland Eastern Shore, he was, quote, very squatty in his stance. And he compared it to Giancarlo Stanton. Basically just big and wide and throwing his hands at like there was no load, there was nothing to it, just relying on his strength. And there's a lot of strength there. I mean, he's listed at 6'5", 260 pounds right now. I think his first year at Eastern Shore, he was 6'5", 236. I think he's comfortably around 10 to 15 pounds heavier than 260. And it's all strength. But at Hofstra, they said like, hey, just be more athletic. Like use your load a little bit. Be a little bit more adjustable. Like if you're just sitting there squatting at the plate and throwing your hands at the ball, you're not being very adjustable and they're going to learn how to beat you pretty quickly. He said, it's not going to work at the CAA. Just imagine how it's going to work, by the time you're trying to get to pro ball. So he made some adjustments, a little bit more of a load now. And he is acting like Giancarlo Stanton in a different way. This year, his max exit velocity is 119.5 miles per hour, which at the time I wrote the story, and I think this is still true, would be the hardest hit ball in the major leagues this season, trumping a 119 mile per hour double from O'Neill Cruz. It'd be the second hardest hit ball ever by a Padres major leaguer in the StatCast era, going back to 2015, behind only a 119.6 mile per hour homer by Manny Machado in 2021.
Goodness
the guy
gracious.
hits the ball extremely hard. And this is not something, he knew he had strength in college. He knew it was sort of in the tank, but now that he has numbers behind it, he said, this has basically opened up his game. Like he knows all I need to do is find the barrel. Like I should be swinging a little bit more. I should be trying to get more aggressive. If I'm making contact, it's going to be loud contact. And if it's as loud as I can hit it, he even said, like, if I get a fastball in, I'm thinking double or above. I'm not thinking like, oh, let's just get it through the infield. I'm thinking like I can hit the ball to the wall easily. So this year, the numbers are certainly there for him. He is 24 years old, so he's a little bit on the older side. But he's batting 280. He's got a 357 on base percentage, 555 slug in 49 games, 10 homers, which trumps the 7 he hit last year. So he's already got a career high in that category.
And in
And what I
9
like
fewer
most,
games, by the way.
and in 9 fewer games. Good call, Tyler. And what I liked most about talking to him was you follow his season. He was actually the Midwest League Player of the Month in April. And then he went through a stretch in May in which he had several offers in a row. I don't have the number in front of me, but it was a really difficult stretch. And I asked him about it. And he was like, yeah, they were basically throwing me all curveballs and all sliders. Like it was just all breaking stuff. And I knew I had to adjust back, and he has, and the numbers are ticking back up again. That's what you need to do to be a major leaguer. Like hitting the ball 119 is great, but if you're not going to adjust, then you're going to be stranded at high A or double A. So he's somebody who I certainly expect to be in San Antonio by the second half. He was somebody who put himself on the radar with how hard he was hitting the ball last year. It was up to like 118. Now he's going even above that. It's really, really exciting. Go check out his highlights if you get a chance, or if you're just going around in MILB TV games one night and Fort Wayne happens to be playing. Check out Alex McCoy. Like he's going to be limited to left field or first base. He still carries a first base around with him just in case the Padres tell him to go back to the cold corner. But the bat's certainly going to play, and it's a really, really exciting one at a time where the Padres need as many prospects as they can get after the trades of last year, and who knows, maybe the trades of this year with the deadline right around the corner.
I just want to point out one thing for Alex McCoy, who, as Sam noted, is listed at 6'5", 260, maybe 270 or above. He's 23 for 29 in his career in stolen bases. Rumble, big fella. 23 for that's an 80% success rate in stolen bases. When you're 6'3", 6'5", 270, like that's not just knowing how to pick your spots, but the intelligence, the alertness to know how to be a base runner in that regard. That's not easy when you're a big guy who's just expected to hit for power, but that's pretty impressive stuff.
No, it's something he brought up a lot in our interview too, was saying like, I am athletic. I know my size, but I do believe I'm athletic. There's a reason why he's not playing center field. He's going to be limited to the corner, but still, like if you are somebody who can pick your spots and can make the most out of your below average speed, that's going to be useful to a team. I mean, you're already turning singles into doubles with how hard you can hit the ball. But if you're turning even the meekly hit singles that you're going to pick up into doubles by stealing 10, 15 bags a year, that's just adding more value at a time when, again, he's an undrafted free agent. Like they did not pick him. They just did a really good job of scouting him and recruiting him and staying on him after the draft and saying like, we want you in this organization.
I have below average speed, but I have never been able to make that an asset to anyone. So that's that. All right. Well, from big bats, we're going to go to outstanding young pitching. And that is where we head to the Toronto Blue Jays organization. Sam had a story up about some of the top prospects in the Jays system at Vancouver right now, where they are tearing up the Northwest League. Our good buddy Tyler Zickel gets to be on the call for that staff. They are really, really fun right now for the Canadians.
Yeah, I mean the reason I wrote up that story was because the last 2 years, I guess year and a half, the Jays have really undergone a pitching revolution, I would say, and they would themselves say that. Obviously, the Trey Savage making his major league debut last year, becoming one of the best pitching prospects in baseball, pitching on the ultimate stage against Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani in the postseason, and having legit success, was the star of that. But underneath the hood, there were a lot of really interesting breakouts last year for the Toronto Blue Jays. Some of that they traded away in deadline trades. To their credit, they developed guys to the point where other organizations wanted them. Some of them they kept internal, and that continues to this year. And I think a lot of that breakout and like star potential is in the Northwest League with High A Vancouver. And to that point, Nolan Perry, who like is one of the breakout pitching prospects of the year, he has been with Vancouver for a few weeks now, opened up this year at Single A Dunedin, missed all of 2025 following Tommy John surgery that he underwent in 2024. So his 46 innings right now on the season between Dunedin and Vancouver tie his career high. So he's not somebody who's ever really laid down much of a pro resume, but the stuff has been absolutely tremendous, and the results have followed. Between both stops, it's a 1.37 ERA for him, 72 strikeouts in 46 innings. He's only walked 15 batters in that span. But like I said, the stuff backs it up. He really took to rehab exceptionally well. He was averaging 92 miles an hour on his fastball in 2024 before the surgery. Now he's up to 94, touching 96.4 in the Florida State League. And he rounds that out because he's throwing the ball harder. His breaking pitches, a slider and a curveball, play especially well. When I talk to the Jays about what they're most excited about with Nolan Perry, they say he's found a splitter. He was working with a changeup 2 years ago. Now it seems to be the splitter that is stuck most, and his left-right splits are incredible. Like the way he has been able to dominate left-handed batters. The curveball has helped with that too, but the splitter, finding something that can be at least a little bit more consistent, or at least a look that is going arm side, has been huge for Nolan Perry. He was outside our Blue Jays top 30 to begin the year. He's right now at number 16. If I were to re-rank again, he would be 10 spots higher at least. So he's kind of the star of that. But then there's Johnny King, who on opening day was the youngest player in the Northwest League at 19 years old. The Jays have loved his competitiveness and wanted to push him coming into this year. It's a plus fastball, above average curveball. It's a changeup they're trying to find. And in this story, we get into that a little bit about, he just needs to throw it more. He needs to know when he can throw it. He needs to trust it. But so far, the results are there for him, too. A 2.2 ERA, 47 strikeouts, and 32 and 2/3 innings. He will struggle with control. He's walked 22 batters in those 32 and 2/3 innings. But the stuff is really interesting. If he's doing this at 19, he's not going to turn 20 until July. That's really promising of like what the upside could be, how the growth could continue, especially if that changeup comes around and if he learns to trust his stuff in the zone a little bit more. So Johnny King, another really fascinating one. And I think the most interesting story out of all of them who are now ranked in our top 30 for the Blue Jays is Danny Thompson Jr., who was an 8th-round pick last year out of UNC Greensboro. He previously had pitched at Division III North Carolina Wesleyan, had pretty much been a reliever in college. He was drafted as a 5th-year senior in the 8th round. So definitely the Jays trying to save some money. In fact, he only signed for $5,000, which like you can look at the round and be like, oh, that's a good get. Like that's a solid prospect. And he is for sure. But they took him there so they could save some money, spend it on other picks. But now he's a bona fide prospect. I mean, he's a top 30 name for them. You watch him pitch, he's 6 foot, but like the fastball has also creeped up a little bit. It's around 93, 95. He just staples it to the top of the zone, and high A batters are consistently swinging under it. And then he's got both an upper 80 slider with like that's kind of harder, and he's added a sweeper. Now I call it a sweeper. Everybody else in the organization calls it a sweeper. There's a good story in that story of Danny Caulfield, the assistant pitching coach for the Vancouver Canadians, doing catch play with Danny Thompson, and Danny Thompson saying, "Hey, I'm going to throw you my curveball," because he thinks of it as a curveball. So Caulfield's ready to catch it,
That is interesting.
I was Tommy Caulfield. I'm sorry, Tommy Caulfield, and he's about going to catch it, thinking it's a curveball, and yet it continues to sweep, and he completely whiffs it. And he's like, "Well, I guess I'm getting old. Maybe the sun's in my eyes." Throws it again, misses it again. And he's like, "What is going on? Like, I cannot catch this kid's curveball." Then he looks at the data in game and he's like, "That's not a curveball. That's a sweeper. Like, I should be trying to catch it this way instead." So anyway, he's added a pitch, which is huge. I mean, that's what you want to see in pro development, right? Is like, take what you're already good with, expand on it a little bit, try to find another pitch, unlock something else. Danny Thompson Jr. this year, he's among the Northwest League leaders in strikeout minus walk percentage, which for me remains like one of the most predictive stats you could have, at least when it comes to pitching. You can look at ERA, you can look at FIP, but if you are striking out a lot of guys and not walking a lot of guys on a per batter basis, you are going to be a good pitcher moving forward. So he's certainly on the radar now. If they're getting guys like Danny Thompson Jr. to break out after signing for $5,000, that's a sign of a strong pitching apparatus. And there are other names there too. I mean, you can go in the story. I'll list a few of them later. It's a rotation that has too many guys in it. So certain players who the Jays think of as starters are piggybacking. Johnny King has a piggyback guy coming off of him, Holden Wilkerson. So it's a really interesting group of arms there in Vancouver, and it's just another sign that the Jays are, even after graduating Trey Savage, and you look at the top of their list right now, I mean, it's JoJo Parker and Arjun Namala. It's not necessarily big name arms at the top, but more are coming, and that's how you keep replenishing a system even after big graduations.
Well, good stuff from our very own Sam Dykstra, as always. And coming up, we are moving to the West Coast. Not literally, but via the power of the internet and friendship. We will find Drew Cavanaugh from the San Francisco Giants organization with AAA Sacramento. The Giants catching prospect is coming up after the break on this week's episode of The Show Before the Show.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Rolling along on this week's episode of The Show Before the Show, we are headed to the San Francisco Giants organization, where in Sacramento we find Giants catching prospect Drew Cavanaugh, who is kind enough to join us on a game day, getting set to take on the Tacoma Rainiers coming up tonight. Drew, it's good to see you, man. How are you?
Guys, thanks for having me on. I'm doing well. It's good to be here.
It has been a fantastic season for you. If you said anything other than I'm doing well, I was going to be like, well, what is going to get better for you? This year has been ridiculous for you so far, Drew. It is a season in which obviously the Giants fans who were already excited about you are getting to tell everybody, like, I told you so about Drew Cavanaugh. And Giants fans who maybe didn't know about you yet probably very much do right now. Let's just roll through some of Drew's numbers before we get into this conversation. With AA Richmond, 22 games, a 279, 456, 515 slash line for a 970 OPS. Then jumping to AAA, where things are supposed to get harder. In 16 games there, 373, 465, 746. I guess this is the most obvious but easiest question. How is this feeling right now for you at the beginning of June to just have been this locked in for 2 months?
Yeah, it's been great. The work that I put in the offseason, the spring training has really just carried over, man. It's I've been trying to keep things simple at the plate, and it's just going smoother right now.
When you are in the middle of a season like this and, you're approaching the midway point and it feels like you've just been as consistent as you've been from, game to game, week to week, month to month. One of the things that we always love hearing about whenever we get to talk to prospects is, like, at this stage in the season, what's your focus? What are you working on from day to day? Because obviously you know that the offseason work has really contributed to where you are, but you have to make those adjustments in season. Like, what in early June, what is your biggest focus, your biggest emphasis right now?
before anything swing wise, it's taking care of the body for sure. Like the prep work before hitting and making sure my body's ready to swing every single day is a big part. And then with the swinging stuff, it's just been, we've been doing a lot of like variable training, so like heavier bats, light bats, and I've really bought into that. So I think that's been swinging bats and figuring out solving problems with a bat that's 40 ounces, and then doing one that's 30. So that has been a big part of my work as well.
When you say solving problems, what issues are you looking to solve in that bat work?
Like, so if we're doing a riding heater at the top of the zone, and with my normal bat, it's not like as hard, but when you get a super heavy bat in there, and you got to figure out, all right, how am I going to solve this problem of getting on top of this baseball with this heavy bat? So just like the variability of using different bats and trying to solving problems like hitting certain pitches with different bats.
And going back to what you were saying in that first answer, you said you put in a lot of work of the offseason and it feels like it's paying off. What was that focus? I know you said keeping it simple was one of the keys, but like, how does that manifest itself? What does that look like?
Yeah, the off-season work, I decided to stay in Arizona this off-season. I could go back home in Michigan. All my buddies are done playing baseball now, which is sad, but there's not much to do there for me. So I got guys out there that want to work, so we did there. And the training is just swinging, just a lot, and talking with good hitters as well. Like, I spent the whole off season with Dakota Jordan and Maui Ahuna, and we would just bounce ideas off of each other consistently every day, and that was just really, really good for me as well.
And then you are now at AAA Sacramento, as Tyler was saying at the top of this interview. This is not your first time at Sacramento. You were there a few years ago when they called you up basically on an emergency fill-in because you were with San Jose. Then I know you were all four full season levels last year. How does now compare to those other times? Because like I can imagine that first time you're getting exposed to the top level, it's cool to be around pitchers and work with pitchers. Now it feels like you're more here, not necessarily to stay. You want to break through to the majors, but you're more firm in your placement in Sacramento this time.
Yeah, it is. It's different to look back on it because when I was first there, I was just trying to like learn everything. I still am trying to learn from guys like Michael Fulmer, but like when I was there, I felt like the youngest, like the young kid, like just like trying to make his way. And now it feels like, okay, like I deserve to be here, and I've put in the work to be here. So it's a nicer feeling for sure.
I have to go back to the bat thing real quick because I just want to get your thoughts on back in the day, Drew. So the according to the Hall of Fame, Josh Gibson swung a bat that was about 38 ounces. Babe Ruth swung a bat that was 44 ounces, and Joe Jackson purportedly, Black Betty, his famous bat that he made by hand was 48 ounces. And obviously, like, we've advanced a lot in bat technology, but when you swing like a 40-ounce bat just working with it, can you imagine like having to lug that up every day and go to work with that?
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine trying to hit 95 plus with a bat like that. Oh
That's
my
what I was going to
gosh.
say, because the velo that you're trying to chase now is like preposterous. So trying to do that with a 40-ounce bat is like, how does that even happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they were facing 98, 99 back then.
I think you're probably right. All right, Drew, let's dive in a little bit to your road to how you got here today. You were back in 2023, a 17th round pick. And, there was a time when we would look at a 17th rounder and be like, yeah, it's a mid-round guy. That's, a comfortable place of where to go. Now in a shortened draft, that's a later round. But obviously the Giants knew what they were getting in you. They were excited about that. But you come from a smaller school in Florida Southern. You had to, battle to get to not just being where you are as a prospect now, but getting prospect recognition, which obviously, is something that media guys like us care about more than you guys. But to be, somebody who didn't necessarily come out of the ACC or was a high school first round pick or whatever, how gratifying is it to be a smaller school guy, a later round guy who's knocking on the door of the big leagues and is really opening eyes for people right now?
Yeah, it's a great feeling, and it's something that I've battled with my entire life. Like, especially I went to IMG for my senior year of high school. Ended up being MVP on that team with guys like James Wood and Zach Geloff. So I had Division I offers, but they were very there was no like guarantee of me playing, and I decided to take the route of, hey, I want to play, and I decided to take the JUCO route, and then got there and thought everything was going to be smooth, and I was going to like take over, and didn't end up having the best freshman season, and had to come back and really earn my stripes there for that sophomore season, and end up having a good one, and move on. So I would say that it feels great, but it's something that I've been really doing my entire life, man.
Yeah, I mean, can you tell us about going through that JUCO experience, going at Eastern Florida State, like you said, difficult freshman year, but you were co-defensive player of the year for JUCO Division I. I mean, people were starting to notice you as a sophomore. Were there more offers coming in, and what led you to Florida Southern specifically?
Yeah, I liked a lot. I didn't want I don't want to have to pay for college, to be honest. That was a big reason why.
That's a good reason. That's a
yeah,
perfectly
great
good
reason.
reason.
Yeah, that is as valid of a reason as anything.
Yeah, I had to visit with Miami and talk to them, but Florida Southern and Lance Negro was there as a second rounder for the Giants a little time ago, and they have a good program too. They had Vaughn, I forgot his last name, player named Vaughn that was drafted out of Florida Southern to the Giants as well, and so they had a good connection with them. And it's right next to Lakeland. It's right next to the Tigers, and I grew up a Michigan fan. I'm from Michigan, so the Tigers fan was a big thing for me. And I went on a visit, and I loved it there. And such a great decision that I made going there. I loved it.
Yeah, I wrote down that Lance Negro was your coach there, both because, I mean, he has a famous last name, famous father, famous uncle. But I remember him growing up. I went to the 1999 Cape League, in which I think he was MVP. I mean, that guy could absolutely rake and was not the knuckleballer like his father was. But you are a catcher, and I know he came back as a knuckleballer. So did he have you guys practice that, or were there like knuckleballers who flocked to Florida Southern at all?
We didn't when I was there. We didn't have any knuckleballers, but we would be hitting BPs sometimes. And if someone was hitting too many home runs off him, so if I was hitting like, let's say 3 or 4 in a row off of him, he would throw the knuckleball, and I would swing and miss on my front foot. I'd be like, "Are you serious, man?" But
It's awesome. That's awesome.
yeah, he would throw it too. Like we would play catch sometimes, like even before stretch, like come out early, and he would just throw sometimes, play catch, and oh my gosh, I'm had to put a mask on to catch that thing. He's it's gross. It's gross.
Have you caught any since, like in pro ball? I know they're very much a dying breed, but
No, I have not. There's a couple guys that I know like that just throw them for fun, and I'm like, I don't hate this. Like maybe we could mix this. I don't hate this right now, but no, not I haven't caught a knuckleball.
I
yet.
mean, maybe that's career protection for you. They are
Yeah.
unpredictable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And a guy who can
yeah.
catch a knuckleballer is like, that's talk about a dying breed. That's if we
Yeah.
don't even have anybody throwing them, then catch it. My favorite quote about a knuckleball ever is still Bob Uecker said, the knuckleball is my favorite pitch to catch because I just wait for it to stop rolling after it hits the backstop and I throw it back. Yeah, that works
That's
out
a great one. That's a
phenomenally.
great one.
Drew, for a guy who, obviously we started this talking about your offensive numbers. You've been really, really well regarded defensively. I mean, your entire, not just your pro career, but your college career. You were the defensive player of the year in the Southern Conference prior to going to FSC. And, to be somebody who being on the All-South defensive team for the ABCA in 2023 and being well regarded as a pro prospect, I feel like doing that as a catcher is the consummate, incredible baseball thing, to be a good defensive catcher. To add a bat to that is mind-numbingly talented to me. But were you always somebody who just felt like you had that aptitude, or how much do you feel like you kind of grow and absorb that stuff as an athlete? Obviously, there's a mixture there. You have to have some of that talent naturally, but what is that progression like to be that good defensively?
I always grew up like I wanted to be a catcher, and I got to high school. In my first 3 years in high school, I didn't catch. I would play shortstop, and I played basketball growing up too, and I think that just like that helped a lot with my athleticism. And then my senior year went into IMG. I went behind the plate, and I'm like, this is I can't like get out of this position now. It was different before then. I wasn't the greatest, but I feel like playing different positions and working on my athleticism in other ways really opened up the catching position for me. And then I got to IMG and we worked it out. And then in JUCO, I had a good catching coach there, and from then on, it's just been trending.
Man, so you never really caught before your senior year of high school.
Like a little bit,
That is
not as much as
amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing. And this is another really good point, because I feel like in this era of athletics, kids get so caught up in, well, I just want to do one thing and I want to be really good at the one thing. But you're a multi-sport guy. You played basketball, you played other positions. What if and when you talk to kids about stuff like that, what do you think the ability to play additional sports in addition to playing just more positions, how does that help round you out as an athlete?
Yeah, especially the basketball side of things. I played on number 1, number 2 team in the state from ages 10 to 12, and being in those kind of moments where it's a whole gymnasium full of people in the middle of Detroit and everybody's screaming at you, and it creates a lot of good habits and good team building skills as well. Like I can't even some of me and the guys that played back then still talk about how like that's shaped us into like the guys we are today. And I would recommend every kid to play as many sports and put yourself in situations where you're not as comfortable as you'd want to be. I think that's a huge part of growing as a person and an athlete.
And speaking of the athleticism of catching, what about the art of catching and how that's kind of changed? I mean, I imagine it's very different. Your method and your mode of catching is different now than it was at IMG, but obviously the one knee down is such a hot topic in recent years, where I don't even think it's a hot topic anymore. I think it's pretty much settled. But how has that changed the way you've caught? And now you're in Sacramento, now you're in an ABS league. Like that's another part of your game that you have to incorporate, is deciding when to challenge. Just talk about balancing all of that stuff and how catching has changed in your few years playing the position.
Yeah, I got to spring training my first year, and our catching coach Lance Burkhart, we're getting into it a little bit because I'm saying, hey, I'm gonna catch on 2 feet, and he's like, I really think you should go over to catching on 1 feet, and I kept fighting on him. I would not stop. I kept fighting him on it, and there was one day I was like, all right, man, let's give it a shot. And I actually found out that like the throwing and the blocking is a lot easier on 1 foot. People say that like it gets a bad rap of you can't block on 1 foot, or I mean on one.
You're
knee,
going to take
but
a pitch that bounces in the dirt, and it's going to like you're going to go viral because it's going to catch you in a way that a normal squatting. That's the most terrifying thing to me about catching on 1 foot.
Yeah, but I think that there's really not that big of a difference, to be honest. I like the receiving's definitely a lot better from a knee. I think that a lot of guys, you have to be super hyper mobile to catch on 2 feet and receive like that. And the blocking side of things, like you're already down there. It's just turning the glove. And I guess the pitches to the sides that are in the other batter's box, you're not gonna be able to get to. But are you really gonna get to that on 2 feet as smooth as you think you would? No, I don't think so. And the same with the throwing. Your body's already ready to throw. So I sat down with our catching coordinator, and we went over it and over and over it. And I was like, all right, let's make this train. And then it's been left knee down, it's been right knee down, it's been right knee in, it's been left knee in, and I kind of just found out where I like to be right now.
So what is most comfortable to you at this stage?
Yeah, I only catch with the right knee down.
Got it. And this is
yeah.
Yeah, just speaking of catching in the Giants organization, I mean, catching coordinators know what they're talking about, clearly. So getting that buy-in. But this is such a fascinating time to be a catcher in the Giants org. Obviously, the Patrick Bailey trade cleared out a spot in the major leagues, but he was one of the best probably the best defensive catcher on the planet, to be honest. And also you have Buster Posey up top making all the decisions, like arguably the best catcher of this millennia. Just what is it like in that org with it there being such a focus on the catching position and knowing Buster is there?
Oh, there's definitely a bigger focus on catching. I would say a lot more than most organizations, because I'll talk to other guys on other teams. They'll be like, hey, we don't even have a catching coordinator here. And at every single level, we got coordinators coming in and other guys coming in that are really focusing on catching. And I feel like with a lot of other organizations that I've heard, it's not like that as much. So it definitely trickles down from Buster. But yeah, I got to talk a little bit with Pat going up and backing up big league games when he was with us, and yeah, he had a lot of good stuff to say. But yeah, he was great.
I got to ask you about two things that you mentioned earlier. And the first one is you said you kind of always wanted to be a catcher. What about that position? It's funny. I was at my niece's softball game. She's 8 years old, and there was a kid behind the plate catching. And I was thinking, like, man, if I was a kid, this is in Texas where my wife's family lives. It was 1,000,000,000 degrees. I was thinking, like, if I was a kid, you could not have convinced me to throw on all the gear and be out there as a catcher. What was it that was appealing to you about catching, especially like the neat part about it is when you're a senior in high school, you get to that position, you're like, yeah, I'm never moving off of this. But what drew you to being a catcher in the first place?
Yeah, I've always liked the pitcher and catcher connection. I think that's a big thing that I've loved, because it's good to see when a pitcher is, well, let's say he's going through a little struggle, and then you get him through a good start, man, and they come out of there and they're amped up and fired up, and that connection is what, to be honest, what really drew me.
That is really cool. You also mentioned earlier you get to bounce things off of guys like Michael Fulmer, who you said is one of the people you really like talking to. Tell us about, first of all, with somebody like him. And Michael Fulmer, he was a first round pick back in 2011, and I know he's gone through a few different organizations. He's seen a lot in this game, and those guys are invaluable. But who else do you like learning from and bouncing stuff off of? And especially as you get closer to the big leagues, you get to draw on all these different experiences and personalities. Who else are some of those conversation points for you?
Yeah, a lot of the guys that are with us have been in the big leagues before, so it's good to like talk to them. So like pitcher wise, like Spencer Bivens has been a guy that I bounced ideas off. Jared Oliva's down here right now on rehab, and we were having conversations last night about hitting. And who else have I been bouncing ideas? Oh, Buddy Kennedy all the time. He's been great. He's up right now, but yeah, just trying to see with those guys, like what their thoughts have been. What is it that different of a game up there? Like what are the changes? And actually, there was a time last week where there was a player on Reno got hit in the hand, and there was like a delay in the time. And Pavin Smith was on rehab, and he came up, and I just like we're just talking there and talking about baseball and stuff. And he's like, "It's the same game, man." He didn't even ask him a question. He goes, "It's the same game, man, up there. Like you just don't make a big adjustments and just trust with what you do." It's just like
That's
cool to hear
awesome.
those little nuggets over.
Yeah.
It's great.
That is awesome. That's super cool. All
Yeah.
right, Drew, before we get you out of here, we got one more question for you. This is our 555th episode of this podcast, which means we've been doing it. I don't even want to know how young you were when we started doing this podcast, but because it's 555, later on, we're going to talk about our favorite third baseman of all time. Who's your favorite whether it was growing up, you're a Michigan guy, I assume you were a Tigers fan. Who was your favorite third baseman throughout your baseball fan career?
Oh, my favorite third baseman. It's gonna be a Tiger. It's gonna be a
Okay.
Tiger.
Okay.
And because he hopped into like the travel baseball scene around us after he got done, I gotta go with my guy Brandon Inge.
I was
I was gonna
say,
guess
Brandon
Brandon
Inge was the
Okay, yeah.
guy. Brandon Inge was
Yes!
the guy.
We were
love
trying to
Brandon
send it
Inge.
through the Zoom of just like you have to say Brandon Inge. Or like you want to
Brandon-
say maybe Miggy played a little bit third base, but like, oh,
Yeah,
Brandon Inge, what a Detroit legend.
Brandon Inge, oh, he was amazing. I loved watching him play. He was awesome.
He was
The
fun.
rumors I've heard about like what he could do with an aluminum bat.
Yeah. He started a travel team in Michigan, and I saw him in the tournament or something. I was like, dude, this guy's forearms are the size of my quads. Like, oh my gosh, dude, this guy's huge. But yeah, he was a dog. I loved watching him play.
Brandon Inge is a great pick. That is a phenomenal pick. Drew Cavanaugh is currently with the Sacramento River Cats in the AAA Pacific Coast League, and tonight will be set to take on the Tacoma Rainiers and making that climb towards San Francisco. Drew, we cannot thank you enough for the time, man. Congrats on all the success so far, and best of luck going forward this season and on the road.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tyler.
Huge thanks to Drew Cavanaugh. That was a blast, man. That guy is he is ticketed for some big things in that giant system, and making the climb toward the Bay Area. It's got to be a little bit weird. I was going to ask him this. We had gone over on time. I was going to ask him. It's got to be a little bit weird to be a Giants prospect sharing a stadium with the Athletics in Sacramento. Like I would imagine there's probably not a ton of crossover. Like the River Cats guys aren't just running into the A's all that often, but it's got to be, that's a very unique situation in baseball right now. It's got to be kind of a strange thing.
There are multiple stadium questions we could have asked him because he also played in Richmond, which has the
brand new ballpark in Richmond.
So I mean, that's one of those interviews, and that's a sign of the great interviews, right? Is that you could go another 10, 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
When we had promised him 10 to 15 minutes and went over that. Yeah. But lots to dive into with Drew Cavanaugh. Thanks to him for joining us this week.
Huge thanks. That was a bunch of fun. All right, Sam, this final segment this week on episode 555 is I guess what we could do is also name our favorite fake movie and TV phone numbers, like 555 Filk on Seinfeld. But instead, we will dive into what we're going to call third base banter, presented by Circle K, the official convenience store of minor league baseball. All right, so Drew Cavanaugh went Brandon Inge, which we both had a feeling about. Great pick for a Tigers fan. Who you got, Sam? Your favorite third baseman or most formative third baseman of all time for you?
Yeah, this one, it's interesting because I think he's like technically a colleague of ours now. And I once saw him in an elevator and I froze and I should have said something, and I'm kind of sad I didn't. Mike Lowell.
Cool.
Mike Lowell, who
I like
when he came to the Boston Red Sox from the Florida Marlins at the time, I thought of as kind of like the throw-in, right, to like the Josh Beckett trade.
Yeah.
Just like, all right, well, this is a guy you will plug in at third base and we'll see how it goes. Mike Lowell was like a doubles machine. Like he just had that sweet, simple swing from the right-handed side. And he was going to shoot the ball in the gaps and just pick up doubles for you. Like he wasn't going to hit 45 homers in a year, and he wasn't going to be Manny Ramirez, and he wasn't going to be David Ortiz. But man, if that was not like, and I for some reason he jumps out in my head as like the number 6 hitter. Just that perfect number 6 hitter, right? Like you're still going to have some power. You're not going to slug like the number 3 or the number 4 or the number 5. You're not going to be asked to, but you're going to be asked to keep the carousel moving. And that's what Mike Lowell always did. And he was also, when he came over from Miami, this was like my early teenage brain. I think he was the all-time leader, and I don't know if he retired this way or not, but he was like the all-time leader at third base in fielding percentage.
Wow.
And 2003, 2004, we cared a lot more about fielding percentage than we do now.
Yeah.
But you watched him play third base, and he was not the rangiest guy over there. He's not making Manny Machado or Nolan Arenado type plays. But if he got the glove on it, he was getting it there. And like he had enough arm for it. And he just really endeared himself to Boston in that way. Like he had not the flashiest tools, but success. Mike Lowell was just such an easy guy to root for. He was also a cancer survivor, and was willing to talk about that all the time.
That's
so
cool.
Mike Lowell just sticks in my brain. Like I know I also had a Shea Hillenbrand jersey, not jersey, but jersey, which was a very early lesson. And like, don't just buy the good rookies jersey.
Yeah.
Unless they're highly ranked by MLB Pipeline. And
right, exactly.
And they are going to be super.
Yeah. And then you have to buy it.
But when you're 11, 12 years old and you're like, this Shea Hillenbrand, man, he's gonna make multiple All-Star games.
This guy's gonna be legit.
Yeah, and then he gets traded a few years later, and you still have that in the back of your closet. But
I'm currently wearing a jersey of a similar guy who has struggled to capitalize on his young promise, and that is Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters first baseman Kotaro Kiyomiya, who is only hitting .230 in the big leagues this season with a 715 OPS. The bat just has not really come along. He was like the high school Babe Ruth in Japan before obviously Rentaro Sasaki and all that. But anyway, I'm wearing his jersey today, and he hasn't quite turned into the guy everybody thought he was going to be. All right, third baseman for me. You mentioned one of them, but that's the way too easy one to go for, and that's Nolan Arenado, who is the best third baseman that I've ever seen. But I think the most formative and my favorite, therefore, third baseman, because he played that position, which I also played, not very well, but I also played third base. And he was the guy throughout my childhood who manned that spot for the team that I grew up cheering for. And it is the legend himself, Vinicio Castilla Soria. Vinny Castilla, who is the all-time leader among Mexican-born players with home runs in his major league career, 320 home runs for Vinny Castilla. He was a two-time All-Star, three-time Silver Slugger Award winner. He earned MVP votes in 4 separate seasons, career slash line 276, 321, 476 with those 320 homers. But the thing about Vinny Castilla was he was just so cool, man. He had this bajillion-dollar smile. He was a solid defensive player. And when Vinny Castilla hit home runs, he hit 32 or more home runs every season from 95 through 99. And yes, Coors, that was pre-Humidor Coors. So everybody in that lineup was hitting 40 homers. But like when you look at his 1998 season in which he was both an all-star and received a Silver Slugger and some MVP consideration. He played all 162 games, which is also not an easy feat when it comes to playing at Coors Field. But he slashed 319, 362, 589 with 46 homers and 144 runs batted in. But I think the thing that might be most impressive about Vinny Castilla in a season like that is he walked 40 times and he only struck out 89 times. Like we look at guys nowadays, and if you're going to hit 46 home runs, you're going to strike out 6,000 times in a season. But Vinny Castilla hit 46 homers. He only struck out 89 times. And he was just so much fun, man. Vinny Castilla, in addition to being, a legend in certain parts of Major League Baseball circles, he also played in the Mexican League in several different seasons. He's got a statue dedicated to him outside of Estadio Sonora in Hermosillo, where he played winter ball for the Naranjeros, the Orange Growers, in a handful of different seasons starting in 2006. He's from Oaxaca originally. He actually grew up playing for Saltillo and then Monclova in the Mexican League before he even signed professionally in the U.S. He did that and made his minor league debut at 22, so late for an international player, and he did that in the Atlanta organization. Then the Rockies took him in the expansion draft, and the rest was history for Vinny Castilla. So, Vinny, wherever you are, he also had like the coolest walk-up song. He had this Matador walk-up song, Matador. It was so cool. Everything about Vinny Castilla was the coolest, man.
Those are two good picks. Yeah, and you brought up
Mike Lowell, Vinny
the
Castilla,
different age those guys lived in terms of strikeouts, but also just the bat control they had themselves. I mean, I was thinking like there's something else about Mike Lowell that I haven't brought up. The guy was the 2007 World Series MVP. Like
that World Series didn't happen, as I recall. Didn't they?
No,
I think they canceled that World Series.
Let me just remind you
I've never heard
what
of
Mike
World
Lowell
Series.
did in that World Series.
Never heard
6 for 15, 1 homer, 3 doubles, only struck out once. Man, in 18 plate appearances.
That's pretty good. That is pretty good. It is like looking back, every once in a while on Instagram, somebody will post a graphic about like Tony Gwynn struck out 1 time between the Reagan, Bush, and Clinton administrations, period. And you're like, yeah, I can believe it because that was Tony Gwynn. But it is kind of crazy looking back at those eras when you like Vinny Castilla, I think is a guy that most people looking back would think, oh, he was a free swinger. But he made a ton of contact. Like he might have swung the bat a lot, but he didn't get cheated. He struck out over 100 times in a season, just 3 times in his major league career in 16 years. And now it's like you could be anybody and strike out 100 times in a season now. That doesn't even scratch the surface.
Yeah, but just to bring this full circle to what Drew Cavanaugh was talking about, we were talking about bats, right? And swinging at 95, 98 with those bats. Even these guys, I mean, we're talking about Mike Lowell in 2007. Was not facing Jacob Mizorowski.
Right.
He was not facing Paul Skeens. Like there were guys who could move the ball around and were pitching to contact, but they were not. Randy Johnson was a unicorn. The guys who threw that hard were just not as plentiful then as they are now. So that's a big reason why you see strikeouts go up. It's not just intent. It's not guys with different two strike approaches. There is some of that, but also the quality of Major League pitching today is just insanely good and better than we've ever seen it.
I will say for a long time, I've been one of those guys who's been like, players today would destroy, like the Adam Ottavino would strike out Babe Ruth thing. I'm like, yeah, obviously. But I do have to say, and this actually kind of ties into something we talked about earlier. I watched the ABA documentary, which is available on Prime, and it is called Soul Power, the Legend of the American Basketball Association. And they interview Rick Barry in that. And Rick Barry talks about, he's like, all these guys today say, oh, you wouldn't be able to hold our jocks because the way we train and the way we play now, you'd never be able to do it. And he goes, yeah, but you have to remember that if I was playing in this era, I would have access to all of that training, all of that analytical data, all of the nutrition, all of the workouts, all of everything. So that would ramp me up to that level too. And I was like, oh yeah, that's true. Like if Josh Gibson was going through a full off season and, had spring training and he's got his swing path and he, knows his exit velocity and his heat map and all of that, he's still going to hit 75 home runs in a season. So I have sort of, Rick Barry has, he re-educated me on that. I'm sort of the mindset now where I'm like, oh yeah, right. That makes sense too.
I mean, it's always context, right?
Yeah.
Like these debates are impossible.
They're just fun.
They are fun. They are fun to think about, especially with these games that are going around now, the 82-0 internet game, which if you have not touched yet, maybe you shouldn't because it's highly addictive. There is a 162-0 version of that, of just pairing guys from different eras and trying to build the best baseball, soccer, basketball teams out there. It's insane to think about, and it's certainly fun. But at the end of the day, appreciate the guys in your era. Like, the guys who are performing now, who might be striking out 150 times, just remember the context of who they're going up against. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. I also just looked up the 82-0 game, and I can tell what I'm going to do for the rest of the day.
Oh, be careful. Be careful.
All right, Sam. Fun episode of this week's episode of the show before the show. Fun episode of this week's episode? Fun episode of the show before the show for this week's episode. You can get in touch with us, of course, podcast@MILB.com. And that'll do it for Sam Dykstra, Benjamin Hill, Josh Jackson, all the rest. My name is Tyler Maughan. We'll catch you next week.